What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with the review for Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Season 2, Episode 21, you guys. This is the season finale, you guys. So I know I dropped off, right? I didn't review Salt Lake City for weeks, right? I took a stand and I didn't want to do anything while Jenny was on there, and now we're back, right? The season is over. And I want to talk about the finale. So the episode is titled, Why Can't We Be Friends, you guys? So before we get into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel, and you guys are not subscribed to my channel, I need you guys to do me a solid favor. Stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning your notifications on, and sharing the video. And you guys, with that out the way, without further ado, let's discuss the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So, let's talk about Jen Shah real quick. It wasn't much with Jen Shah in the episode. We didn't get a lot of Jen until technically the end of the episode, and we'll talk about her. But Jen, you guys know what the situation is with Jen. Jen and Coach Shah, they're downsizing that house, right, because of this retainer that Jen has of $2 million. You know, Jen is going to be moving out of that house by the end of the month, right? It's so interesting because Salt Lake City is filming season 3 and her trial is going on currently. And I do know that I did see the other day that Jen doesn't want any of the footage from Salt Lake City to be shown in the trial, right? Good luck with that one. I just don't think you're going to be able to get out of that one, right? And also it was a scene in this episode where she was talking to her attorney, right? And she was talking about the case, right? And they were talking about the situation with Stewart, right? The fact that she can't talk to Stewart, but her attorney is able to reach out to Stu's attorneys, right? And he was like, they're on the same page, unless Stu, decides to take a plea deal, right? Which we all know Stu took a plea deal, right? So Jen is basically SOL up the creek without a paddle to row with at this point, right? Like I've been saying all season, I believe Jen did it, right? If you guys didn't watch that documentary that is on Hulu about Jen, it's just gut-wrenching, right? To just listen to that whole thing. Like, it's just as bad as the whole situation with Tom and Erica, the housewife and the hustler. It's just as bad, right? You guys are, like, I just don't get how you can take from people who are orphans, widows, plane crash victims, elderly people. I just don't. It's a special place in hell for a mother like that, right? That's all I got to say. But let's move on and talk about Heather, you guys. So we see Heather. So Heather and her family. Now, you guys remember last season at the reunion, we found out that Heather's dad had passed away, right? So Heather and her family, some of her family members are going to be doing a celebration of life party for her father, right? So her brother is there. Now, the sister that we saw this season, she didn't come, right? But she invited all her family. So some of her sisters and some of her brothers did not come, as well as her mother. Now, let's talk about this, because I have an issue with some of the women on Salt Lake City. And the issues that I have with the women is the fact that you guys spend so much time talking about Mary and her church, right? Now, granted, would I ever go to Mary's church? No, right? I would never set foot in Mary's church, and I've said that since season 1. And I keep that same stance that I would never go into Mary's church, because and the reason why I say I would never go into Mary's church is because of looking at Mary on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. She's not a nice person at all. Do I like Mary? Yes, because Mary is quirky, right? And she is shady, and she doesn't even try to be any of those things, right? And that's what I like about Mary. But like I said, Mary is not a nice person, especially when she told that person last season that they needed to go on a diet. Like that. So yeah, I like Mary, but Mary is rude as fuck, right? And I just wouldn't go to Mary's church, period, point blank. I wouldn't go to Mary's church if you paid me to go to Mary's church. But they talk about Mary's church being a cult. But here's my thing. Like I've said about religion, I think pretty much all organized religion is a cult. I mean, let's keep it real. I just think they're all cultish, right? But if we're going to talk about the fact that y'all think Mary's church is a cult, can we talk about the fact that, listen to the way Heather talks about her father. Now, I know she loves her father, right? And I'm not saying anything negative about her father, but listen to the way she talks about him. She talks about him in conjunction with the Mormon religion. The Mormon religion has your family exiling you, right? They don't want to be around you. They don't want to do stuff with you. So, like, let's just think about that think about that. If we're gonna talk about the fact that Mary's church might be a cult, let's talk about the fact that the Mormon church is a cult in itself, right? Like, y'all can say whatever y'all want to say about Mary, but y'all's religion is a cult too, right? So Heather's mother actually did show up because her brother said, "Did you see mom?" She says, "No, I didn't see mom." So her mother did show up. I'm like, and see, that's the thing. She showed up, but she left. Like, y'all are devout to this religion for what reason? I just, for the life of me, I don't get why they're so devout to that damn religion. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense to me. All right, you guys, so let's move on. Let's talk about Whitney real quick, you guys. So Whitney, we see Whitney and we see her at home, right? So you guys know she did her rebranding of, is it Wild Rose? I think that's the name of her company, Wild Rose, right? So she has on this little sexy lingerie for Justin, and when Justin gets home, she's thanking Justin for being there for her during this time of her rebrand, right? It was, they could have kept this, it just felt like I was watching softcore porn, because when Whitney took that bottle of champagne, she opened it and then she poured it on her chest, and Justin went in between her cleavage. I was like, what in the hell is going on here? Then when they went in that bedroom with that paint or clay or whatever it was, they got all dirty and he slapped her ass. I was like, what am I watching? What is this that I'm watching? I'm like, did I just turn on? I mean, this is like giving me softcore porn. It really was. Very much so was giving me softcore porn. All right, you guys. So I forgot to put this in my notes because it was just the weirdest scene to me. Mary in that church. Like I said earlier, would I go to Mary's church? Not a chance in hell. I would never set foot in Mary's church. I just, Mary's spirit doesn't sit right with me, personally. Her spirit don't sit right with me. Like I said, as far as her being a cast member on this show, she's quirky, she's shady when she's not even trying to be. I like that. But from the outside looking in, would I go to her church? No. Could Mary lead me to water? No. Could Mary teach me the word? No. There is nothing Mary Cosby could do. And then when you hear the people in her congregation talk about her, especially that woman that was up at the pulpit just reading off that, I was like, y'all do realize this is why people say that your church is a cult. I be wanting to defend Mary, but when I see stuff like that, I'm like, that's why I don't go to church today. Like, it's just some weird shit. Some of the weirdest shit I ever saw in my life. No, thank you. I was even with Jen, because Jen showed up to the church because Mary had reached out to Jen to come down to her church. I was with Jen. I was just, especially when that woman was in the pulpit, and then that woman was in the aisle talking about how good of a friend Mary has been to her. Isn't Mary the same woman that just screamed at y'all we got that footage last year, Mary screaming at y'all because y'all didn't get her a birthday gift? Isn't that the same Mary, but y'all calling her a good friend? The same Mary that told that man he needs to go on a diet. But Mary is a good friend. Again, like I said, Mary's not a nice person. I will miss Mary. I will miss seeing Mary on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, because we all know, like I said, season 3, they're currently filming and Mary is not filming. And I just don't, I know that contractually they are obligated to go to the reunion, right? I know that they have to go to the reunion. If they don't go to the reunion, they basically are forfeiting their contract, right? because Adrian Malouf did it on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Vanderpump didn't show up to the reunion, but actually Vanderpump had quit the season even before the reunion. Vanderpump didn't do it. I know people say Jacqueline and Loretta didn't show up to the reunion, and Jacqueline or Loretta came back. I feel like, I feel like if Bravo does want Mary back, Mary won't be back for season 3. If they get renewed for a season 4, I feel like Mary will come back for season 4. And I hope that's the case, right? I do like the quirkiness of Mary, and I do like the shadiness of Mary, especially in her interviews with the producers. I do love that. That's what I like about Mary. Other than that, Mary is problematic, right? The skin bleaching, the ignorant statements that come out of her mouth. So yeah. But the one thing I will say though, in the last few episodes with Mary, the thing that I did enjoy was her treatment of the person who's been fired from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So that's how we're going to go. When it comes to this review and the reunion, that's how I'm going to refer to the person who was fired from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City for her racist comments. I'm going to refer to her as the person who was fired from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So we're going to move on, you guys. I'm tired of talking about Mary. So let's talk about Meredith real quick. One much with Meredith, we see Meredith if she's doing a photo shoot for her jewelry line, right? And she says her jewelry is. I might look into Meredith's jewelry. I might look into some of Meredith's stuff. Y'all know I fucks with Meredith. I love Meredith, right? Her disengaging from the women. It was so interesting to watch this scene with Meredith. She's working with Glad, and they're gonna be doing a photo shoot. So yeah, we see Seth is there, Brooks is there, and so is Chloe. And when they did the photo shoot, Brooks and Chloe, Brooks had his arm around Chloe, and she was like, this seems very sexual. And he was like, and we're not brother and sister right now. The one thing that I did notice is the fact that everyone in his family, with the exception of Seth, they have a very monotone voice. Those kids get that from Meredith, because Meredith is monotone, Brooks is monotone, and so is Clay. I'm like, damn, is the entire family monotone? Because I think they have one other daughter, right? I'm like, is the entire family monotone? Like, wow. Monotone. All right, guys, so we're going to wrap up the episode. So, Lisa is hosting the finale party. I was like, oh, wow. Lisa Barlow is hosting the finale party. Child, this is interesting. Lisa Barlow. Lisa. Lisa has been an interesting character this season of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Lisa did a lot to stand out this season. I still don't see it for Lisa, because Lisa's still not my favorite. She's still my least favorite. But I will say, though, that this season, Lisa did a whole lot, right? Lisa earned that paycheck, right? Lisa earned that paycheck with the Mary situation, the hot mic moment with Meredith being a whore who slept with half all of New York. We're going to talk about that in a minute, because it came back up again that Meredith slept with, all of New York, right? So Lisa is having this event for her tequila brand, Vita Tequila, right? Child, Mary, in her interview, when one of the producers said, why are you not drinking? She says, because her tequila, it's like drinking water. It has no taste to it. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, so Lisa is having the event for her Vita Tequila. So everyone shows up, right? We see everyone getting ready. I'm so glad that wig that Jen had on, she had to cover it up with that turban. I'm so glad she did that. Child, Jen really wants to be a black woman, don't she? So Lisa, I have a big issue with Lisa Barlow, because when Meredith, she invited Meredith, right? And when Meredith showed up, she went up to hug Meredith. I'm like, girl, you literally just said in the last episode in Zion that she's a whore, that she's fucked half of New York. And here you are hugging her. It's like that. Have you guys ever saw that meme? It's SpongeBob, it's Patrick, and it's Squidward, right? And Squidward's in the middle, and he's got his arms around, SpongeBob and Patrick, right? and it's kind of like, you know, they best friends for this picture, but behind closed doors, Square was talking shit about him basically. If I think I have it in one of my phones. If I can find that picture, I'm gonna put it up. No, I'm not. I'm lying already because I'm not going to look for it because I don't know where. I know I still have it. I just don't know where it is. So I'm lying. I'm lying because I'm not going to look. I don't even want to look for it. But if you guys have saw that, because they're like this and Squidward is smiling. But hey, that's Lisa to Meredith, right? She's all lovey-dovey with her, right? So then we see Mary. She was talking to someone, right? And the one who got fired from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, she was standing there in a bright red ass dress, right? And she was like, so Mary's, but here's the thing. Y'all been saying this people have been saying this, like she talks in a black scent. I had never heard the black scent. I heard it I heard it in her interview with the producers. I heard it that time. She wants to say she doesn't talk with one, but I definitely heard that black scent last night. I was like, oh, there is that black scent. There it is. And I heard it again in the episode, what we'll talk about when we get there, right? So we see Sharif. So Sharif is talking to Mary about, you know, Jen coming to her church, right? So then, in my note it says some of the things that Mary says, girl, no thank you. So then Whitney comes up to, you know, Mary, right? And Whitney wants to talk to Mary, and Mary's like, I smell alcohol on your breath. She's like, this is a tequila party, Mary. What do you expect? So she says, can I talk to you? So she and Mary go sit down and talk, right? And Whitney is apologizing to Mary, but she says, then she throws a butt in him. Like, that's not an apology, Whitney. If you want to apologize to Mary about talking about her church, you just say that. Don't say you came at me. Don't say none of that. Just say, you know what? I apologize. And let's leave it at that, right? Meanwhile, Jen and the one who was fired from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, they were sitting there and they were like, what is she saying? And at one point, Mary said, I'm not a mean person. And she was like, Mary's not a mean person. And then Mary said something else, and she's not hurtful or something like that. And then the one who was fired from the Real Housewives, the one who was fired from the Real Housewives, the one who was fired from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City then says, then why were you mean to me? And she is just getting irate. And this is another instance where that damn black scent came out, right? And Mary said, oh, you gonna get hood on me? Did you just call me hood? Well, girl, you're acting like it. You're acting like you saw something like this on TV, right? So the one who was fired from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, she did the absolute most, right? She was just screaming at Mary, and she had a glass in her hand, and she just threw that glass at Mary. I was like, was that called for? Mary didn't cuss you out. Mary didn't raise her voice at you. Mary didn't do shit to you. Mary got her ass up and walked the fuck away, but you took your raggedy ass over there and threw a fucking glass at her. Yeah, I'm glad that you've been fired from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I thought I liked you in the beginning of the season, but then as we got through the rest of the season, I was like, and she's boring to me because her storyline dwindled. Her storyline, she had none, right? Lisa didn't give a shit that she threw a glass at Mary, as long as it wasn't her tequila bottles. I'm like, girl, what? Okay, I see you too. I see you. I see you. So then they all sit around the table, right? And they just want to talk. They talk to each other. And then Jen asked the question of Meredith, are we friends? Meredith said, I can't be there for you as a friend. And she was like, why? She said, because of the things that we've been through with each other, right? I just can't get over it. So then we start talking about Meredith's marriage. I was like, here we go again. Why does Meredith's marriage concern y'all so much, right? Jen, you and Sharif, are y'all even really still, y'all might be legally married, but y'all live in the same house with each other? Because I don't believe y'all do. If y'all do, y'all probably don't even sleep in the same bed with each other. Like, worry about your marriage, Jen. Worry about your marriage. Worry about your marriage. Because I do remember that on the documentary that they said at one point, Jen and Sharif were going to go through a divorce, right? So yeah, I still think Sharif got another family somewhere else, and it's not with Jen, right? But so they did that, and then here we go again talking about Meredith fucking half of the Upper East Side. Jen said that, and they have an issue with the fact that she follows, like, if when Mary gets upset, she goes, they, like she said, like Meredith has said more than once, Mary was by her side when she didn't have anybody. Lisa was too busy being buddy with Jen. Y'all gotta miss me with the bullshit. But that's the review, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about this season finale. I am so glad that the one who was fired from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City has in fact been fired from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So I don't have to see her anymore. I just have to see her for this 3-part reunion. That's it. I really wonder what they're going to talk about in the 3-part reunion without Mary. Because y'all made Mary a big part of the story the last half of this season, which is so fucking interesting. Y'all made Mary the storyline, but you got a heifer over here that is accused of taking from the elderly. Y'all went after Mary Cosby. Mary ain't done shit to nobody. Besides that child that they were harboring. But Mary ain't done shit. And here y'all coming so hard on Mary, but not the heifer who is accused of stealing money from people. Make it make sense to me, because it doesn't. But that's it. I'll see you guys later.